Roxo Media House.
Yeah, that's why he's in that guard position.
1st and 15.
There's another
lobbing
shot.
it deep for Williams.
That's it.
Savion. Touchdown.
Welcome back to State of the Frogs. I am your host, J.W. Wilson. This gentleman to my left, you might recognize him as your head coach of the TCU Horned Frogs, Mr. Sonny Dykes. Coach, welcome back. This past Saturday night, you guys handily defeated University of Houston Cougars, 36-13, putting you at 1-0 in the conference, and magically you're in first place. Kind of weird to say that, but thoughts on the game, Coach?
Yeah, well, kind of going back to that, I mean, it's a little bit of a strange schedule. I think it was the first Big 12 game, obviously. And so we play a non-conference game this week, which again is not an ideal situation, but it is kind of the scheduling and the way it fell. But it's good to get a win. I mean, it was, going into that environment, we felt like that Houston was probably disappointed in the way that the game ended the week before against Rice. It was their first Big 12 game in history. Knew their guys would be excited. One thing we challenged our players all week was, make sure we're the most excited team to play. And I felt like for the really first time this year, we played with a lot of excitement, a lot of emotion. So it was good to see. It's good to get a win. It's always good to win, especially on the road. Anytime that you can go on the road and win by 23, that's a great day. A lot of things we got to get corrected. I mean, I think that's the good thing about this football team is I think we're starting to see how good we're capable of being. We just have to quit making so many mistakes and putting ourselves in some bad situations. But it's good to get a win, and again, especially on the road.
Let's talk about defense for a second, Coach. Your defense for the second straight game didn't allow an offensive touchdown. Obviously, you held Houston to 266 yards total offense, I believe. The defense seems to be finding their own. Is it safe to say there's an identity that you guys are finding with the defense? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I think the big thing, obviously, after week one was we wanted to get better. I think we wanted to play a more physical brand of defense, a more aggressive brand, make sure we're not getting on our heels, like we did week one. And to our players' credit, I mean, they've played really tough. They've played really physical. We've done a good job stopping the run so far this season. I've given up some yards passing, but I think that, for us, it always begins with being able to stop the run. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pleased with the way they're playing. I'm pleased with the improvement that we made. In today's modern college football, I mean, it's hard to go 2 weeks in a row and not give up a touchdown. And so I'm starting to like what I see from that unit. And the guys did a great job in short yardage situations. Got 2 big stops early in the game on 4th down that I thought were very, very important for us and allowed us to create a little bit of separation.
On the offensive side, obviously Chandler's looking more and more comfortable. He's moving the ball, 35 first downs, one of the best offensive performances in the first down perspective. Your running backs are running the ball well. You feel everything feels like it's kind of coming into place finally. Do you feel the same? Yeah,
I think we're close. I really do. I think we're close to kind of putting it all together. If you'd asked me how I felt after week 2, I would have said unsettled. I think the good thing is now after week 3, we're starting to get more settled in with what we're doing, how we're doing it. The guys, I think, are executing better. Still have too many penalties. I think that's been the one thing that's really hurt us so far this season offensively has been the number of penalties we've had. We go down, we have a great opening drive, score, then we get the ball back, we fumble the first play when Chandler gets sacked and turns it over. Then the next 2 series we have are both negated really because of penalties. And so we've got to do a better job of just executing, staying ahead of the chains, making sure that we don't get into 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 25 like we did a couple of times in the game Saturday, and all of a sudden now you're looking at 3rd and 15 plus, and those are hard to convert. So we just got to do a better job staying on schedule, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think the guys are starting to come together and starting to play with a little more confidence.
As we sit today, and you probably don't care about these type of things, but you're still undefeated since you got here in conference play. You're 10-0 in the Big 12 conference. It's kind of cool to say that. Just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's what this is all about. Is about playing for championships and competing for a conference championship, and that's what we want to try to do. And only way you get a chance to do that is win a bunch of conference games. So, we got a big non-conference game this week. Want to make sure we figure out a way to win this one and then get back on the conference.
Before we get onto that game, we wanted to kind of an off-topic, not related to football, obviously, halftime. Everybody who watches the game, we know you go into the halftime and you do your things. For those that don't know fully how that works, could you explain how a halftime works inside the locker room?
Yeah. So what typically happens is I'll call the team up at the beginning of the half normally, talk to them about a couple of things from the first half. A couple of corrections we need to make, a couple of things just that we need to do generally. And then the offensive defensive staffs are together talking about ideas, and I'll kind of bounce between the two of those and kind of listen and contribute when I can. And then, then we'll get back together again before we go out and talk about what we need to do in the second half. So the idea is make the corrections on the first half, learn from the mistakes we made, put that behind us, and then move on to the next half and talk about what we think is going to be important and allow us to win the game in the second half of the game. And that's been the one thing I've been really proud of this team so far in the year and a quarter that we've been here. Has just been the way we finish games. The guys play hard in the fourth quarter. We've been able to win a lot of close games. A lot of that has to do with our effort and our confidence and belief in each other. And so we have to continue that trend.
Again, TCU defeats Houston Cougars 36-13. We'll be right back with the Student Question of the Week with your head coach, Sonny Dykes, on the State of the Frogs.
We wouldn't be able to do the things we were able to do this year without the Flying T Club. So we got to continue to get people involved. It's more important right now than it's ever been.
Flying T is special. It's the best thing that I've encountered in college.
It allows us to be able to offset a lot of the costs that our scholarships aren't able to cover. If people like winning, invest in the Flying T Club and NIL.
It's almost a necessity now in the college football world. I mean, you got to kind of invest in the programs, and what you put in is what you get out.
We're back with State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. This week's student question comes to us from Roxanne Campos.
Hi, I'm Roxana Campos. This is my second year at TCU. I am from here, Fort Worth, Texas. My major is fashion design. And my question to you, Coach Dykes, is what does all steak, no sizzle mean on your social media page?
Yeah, Roxanne, the all steak, no sizzle idea kind of came when we were talking about some of the teams in the Big 12 and some of the teams that we were going to play this season, and there was a lot of hype about that. And certainly, one of the things I felt like was important for us last season to have the success we did is our guys really did a good job of not getting caught up in the hype and focusing on doing their job and just playing it one game at a time. And so that was kind of where the idea was hatched, was we want to be more about the result, which is the steak, and not as much about all the talk and all the other pomp and circumstance that go on sometimes in college football, and that's the sizzle. So that was kind of where that came from.
Awesome. Thank you, Roxanne, for your question. Coach, on the topic of social media, I know it's a very important tool for a college coach in general. How do you handle social media, and what platforms do you prefer, and how important is it to you, and how do you utilize it?
Yeah, I'm probably like most people. I get a little bit of my news from social media, certainly from I guess what used to be Twitter, and you kind of get to choose what you follow and what you can keep up with, and so that's one way that I get most of my news, and breaking news certainly is on that platform. And that's kind of what I normally use to communicate with recruits as well. That's where you can kind of tell about what's going on in recruiting. A lot of kids will show their hand a little bit in terms of retweeting schools that they're like and they're interested in, and following those accounts, and then you can reach out to them via the direct message part of it all. So that's kind of how we do it. And beyond that, I try not to spend too much time on it. I mean, it's you go down the black hole of that stuff. You get on there and hard to get off. And I try to tell our players all the time and my kids that you think everybody in the world's on social media. I think 15% of the people in the world are on Twitter, and I think 1.5% of the people make 90% of the posts. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times you have to realize that it's just the same people posting over and over and over again, and you got to be able to put all that in context. And in some ways it's not the real world, but it's obviously an important part of what we do.
Sure. I'm glad you mentioned your children. You are a dad of two. Does your influence on social media affect how your kids might handle social media, if you mind us getting a little personal?
Yeah. The good thing is I've got my 15-year-old daughter. She doesn't have any social media yet. We don't have anything. Probably going to wait maybe till she's 16 before we let her really have any of those platforms or anything. I just, we want to try to keep her as close as we can, and not let everybody else try to influence her too much until she gets a little bit older. So that's kind of the way we see it. But again, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I've always believed social media is a way for people to express themselves, a way for people to be creative, and there's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's also plenty of bad stuff.
We'll be right back talking about this week's opponent, SMU Mustangs, with our coach Sonny Dykes, and brought to you by our friends at Railhead Barbecue.
simply the best barbecue in Fort Worth. Dine in, catering, or drive-through. 2900 Montgomery, just off I-30. Remember, the best barbecue in Fort Worth is at Railhead Smokehouse.
Okay, we're here back with State of the Frogs with your head coach, Sonny Dykes. All right, Coach, it's this week, it's this time, it's here, it's SMU, the SMU Mustangs, someone you know quite well. You know the staff, you know the head coach, your old offensive coordinator over there. You spent 4 years at the helm at SMU prior to coming to TCU. Safe to say you know these players well. How do you go in and approach a game like this with everything so familiar to you?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a little bit like playing Houston last week, where you have a relationship with the head coach, and Dana Holgerson and I have been friends for a long time, and I got a lot of respect for Dana, and it's the same thing over at SMU. I mean, we spent 4 years over there. When we went over, felt like the program was kind of headed in the right direction, but we invested a lot of time and a lot of effort and spent a lot of time to try to elevate the program, and it was a total buy-in, really, from Kate, my wife, and our kids, and we just tried to embrace everything about SMU that we possibly could. And so it's anytime you play against somebody you spent that much time at, a school you spent that much time at and invested that much in, it can be a little bit difficult. Obviously, the most important thing is the players. Those guys are a lot of those guys are guys that we recruited, have known for a long time, and have been there and had a lot of success through the years. And so it's a very veteran team. When you sit down and look at them, 9, 10 starters on defense that are seniors, a lot of guys that have a ton of experience. 4 of the 5 offensive lineman starters are guys we recruited. Obviously Preston Stone, the quarterback, is somebody we recruited, and a couple of the wide receivers as well. So it's a good football team. They really have played well so far this season. They were in a tight game until late in the game at Oklahoma, and played well against Louisiana Tech week 1 and had a big win this past week. So it's a good football team, a team that's going to be excited to play us. And that's the one thing SMU teams are always going to get up for TCU. And we got to do what we did last week. We got to not only match their enthusiasm, we have to exceed it. And our players have to be excited to play this game. And we're excited about playing at Amon Carter Stadium, and we're looking forward to to getting a chance to play against a really good football team.
Are you able to still stay in communication with Coach Lashley over there?
Yeah, we do. I mean, obviously we don't talk this week, but yeah, there's a lot of guys on that staff, guys that have worked with me on other staffs. Rob Likens, the receiver coach, was with me at La Tech and at Cal, and somebody that I've known for a long time. Rob and I really go back to the late 90s. We first met each other, and so, Rhett worked for me for a number of years, and a lot of those assistants that are there were with Rhett at that time as well. So know the staff well, got a lot of respect for them, and they've done a nice job with the team.
I know you've been asked this question a million times in different ways, but this being a more personal game, do you treat it as a more personal game, or is it just another game?
No. It's always just got to be another game. I mean, look, you get 12 of them. They're all big. They're all important. Every one of them has a huge amount of meaning, and our players will understand the importance and significance of this game, and they'll be excited to play. I don't think, I don't ever want to make it about me, and the guys understand that that's not the case. I mean, it's another opponent, another game that we need to win. If we want to be a great program, we need to play well every week and win the games that we're supposed to win. And so that's going to be important for us to go out and execute and figure out a way to win.
Great answer. When I was roaming these halls many years ago, Coach Fran played the SMU fight song on repeat at high volume the entire week in the locker room, so we were almost rabid at that point. Do you utilize any extra motivation?
No, we don't. We don't really do anything like that. Our guys will get excited to play. I mean, they know it's going to be a big challenge. They know how important the game is to SMU, and again, we don't need to match their enthusiasm to play. We need to exceed it and make sure that we're the most excited team to play. It's always the case in college football. The most excited team wins, and the team that plays the hardest and the toughest and the most physical and wants to win the most usually wins. Today's world of college football, most teams are not that far apart from a talent standpoint, and so it's really important to go out and play hard and play tough, but also play well.
Excellent. Thank you, Coach Sonny Dykes. This is the State of the Frogs, and come out to Amon Carter on Saturday. You'll see it's usually a good rivalry game. So, Coach, we appreciate the time. Look forward to it next time. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Roxo Media House.